Hello, beautiful people.
Hello.
That was completely accidental. we just usually press record, and yes, but in light of the current situation and everything that's going on, we wanted to shoot a video called 10 Things You Can Do During the Coronavirus Outbreak. We know it's like unprecedented times, and you know, there's a lot of uncertainty and what could be perceived as negativity flying around, and we want to help to like put a little bit of a positive spin on things, and also share some of the more positive aspects of what's actually happening. We'll get to that a little bit later in the video, because there definitely are positive aspects to this whole situation, you know. So we're going to start with these 10 things, and the first one is
turn off the TV. So this comes without judgment, without any of that, just an invitation to turn off the TV and turn off the news, turn off the media, you know, checking it once in a while if you need to, if you feel resonant to, but maybe preventing that continuous roll of news coming into your life.
Yeah, because it can be like so overwhelming, so overpowering, you know, because a lot of the news is like predictive, and a lot of the news doesn't really focus upon like the positive aspects of I mean, in general, like the mainstream media doesn't really focus on positive elements of life. So in this situation, there may be some positive elements being reported. We don't really watch the news, but ultimately when the news has been on, it's been very doom and gloom and very kind of like fear mongering, and you know, so we just invite you to switch it off, you know, and if you have to check every once in a while, fair enough, but you know, we're going to find out what's going on, you know, regardless. So switching off just gives you that opportunity to really go into like some self-inquiry, into you know, like the opportunity that is actually arising, you know, as a result of this coming up. And I know not everyone's off work, but many people are off work, you know, and just in a space which is alien, you know. So and there is a real opportunity in that. So that's point number one. And point number two is
be here now.
Be here now.
So be here now. Be present. Big part of society and a big part of our natural life is either being in the past, living in the past in our mind, or living in the future, projecting into the future.
Depression, the past, anxieties, the future. Now is
now. Yeah, and it's about really honing in on this moment, you know, waking up, switching that TV off if it's on, you know, switching from the news to a present reality, just taking time to breathe and understand that it can be unknown, it is unknown completely, it's unprecedented, unknown what's going on, but how does it really affect you? You know, it could be affecting you definitely, your family, your friends, your relatives, you could be seeing it around you, but what's your present reality? You know, are you just being told to be isolated at home? And if so, are you well and healthy? And if not, if something's coming up, just be present with it. Allow your time for your emotions to come up, whatever they may be. But really just try and stick to the present, because it's very much in our reality to try and predict a future that is so uncertain and scarier than it could actually really be in life. So it's be present if you can, you know, try.
The fact is, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't know, you know, like generally every day in our life, we never know what is coming the next day. Like there is so much uncertainty, and I know we have this scientific paradigm at the moment, you know, that kind of wants to contain everything and wants to box everything up, but ultimately reality is so much unknown. Like if you go back 20 years, who would have thought we'd be like, you know, face to face with people in Australia, you know, from England on our smart devices, you know? This was unprecedented. Things change constantly all the time, and tomorrow is always going to be unpredictable. This situation is no different, and going back to the news and the media, they're often predicting worst case scenarios, predicting, you know, what could potentially happen, but the only way we can find out what's happening is being present, and then, you know, seeing what happens as and when it unfolds.
Check into the seriousness or the less seriousness of your present reality. If you're just at home, being at home, just do that. So we're just inviting you to be present. Be here now.
Yeah. The number 3 is make your boundaries clear. Obviously, you know, everyone has their own stand on this, you know, on the whole situation, and you know, some of us might want to maintain like a higher vibration. You know, it is difficult. I'm not going to lie. You know, with the collective, you know, in a lot of panic and a lot of fear, it's going to take a little bit more focus than you. I don't know if focus is the right word, but surrender, and you know, like maybe topping up your practice a little bit more and stuff. You know, but ultimately, if you want to maintain that you know, level of like higher vibration, you know, you might have to have some conversations with people who may be a little bit constricted by fear, you know, may be looking at the, you know, worst case scenario outcome and stuff. You may just have to put up your boundaries with a compassionate conversation.
Yeah, I think compassion is the key word there, you know, having your boundaries in light of the fear that's going on, in light of any single person's process. Everyone's different and it's all perspective. Having that compassion of what your boundaries are. So take time, you know, everyone's going inward. What does that mean? Take time to self-reflect. Where do you stand in this position? Where do you want to stand? I think the willingness is key. If you're willing to really just be in a place of peace and surrender to what's going on and accept it, you know that that's your boundaries.
Yeah.
And you can compassionately express that to other people and say, you know, I actually prefer to just be in this present moment and I don't want to watch the news and I don't want to see projections or feel them. And it's energetic boundaries too, physical and energetic. And we have many ways of cleansing our aura or just having this bubble around us of light and love, whatever that means to you, whatever high forces you want to call upon, do what feels right. Express your boundaries.
For sure.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Again,
take a break from your devices.
These ones.
You know? Yes. So, I mean, obviously, like, these are the times, you know, we might want to check in with mama and papa, or we might want to, like, check in with our friends and make sure everyone's okay, and there's nothing wrong with doing this, but ultimately it's easy to get stuck in, you know, like, the main talking point globally at the moment, like, if there's one trending topic around the world, it's the coronavirus, you know. So if we're on social media all the time, if we're on Instagram, you know, whatever it might be, you know, a lot of people are going to be talking about this a lot of the time, you know, and it's like, great, you know, if some people have a great outlook on it, you know, and ultimately you're probably watching this from social media or something along them lines, you know, so it's not necessarily a bad thing to spend some time, but it's like taking a break from that as well. And, you know, this kind of ties in with the first point of turning off the TV. It's like we are in a time where we can have some self-reflection, some downtime, and it's like if you turn everything off for 3 or 4 hours, like nothing's going to change, you know, like nothing's going to, like, you know, and if it does, you'll find out once you've had your 3 or 4 hours off, you know. It's just like really take that time out to just be with yourself.
Yeah. I like that. And even, you know, just taking 5 minutes every so often, like even put an alarm on your phone. Okay, now's the time to just put my phone, take the Wi-Fi off, take the Bluetooth off, put it on airplane mode, connect within.
Listen to a song.
Read a book.
Yes.
You know, read that book you wanted to read for ages, or do something like that. You know, tidy something that you wanted to tidy in your house.
Dance.
Yeah, dance.
Oh, we're going to get to that point in a minute.
We're going to get to that point.
Is that the next point?
It is.
That is the next point.
So
okay.
number 5.
Yeah, number 5 is the exercise.
Movement.
You know? Yeah, we I mean, I'm a little bit biased towards yoga. I've done a lot of different exercises. I've done a lot of martial arts and things in my life, and they're all great. But I found something beautiful in yoga. You know, the balance of the stillness, the movement. You know, it's like a real. What it is I feel like we have like stagnant emotions that build up in our body, you know, that shoulder pain, that, you know, aches and pains, and if we don't have an outlet to move them energies, you know, it like the stagnation or the stiff joint turns into like an ache, you know, and then the ache turns into illness, and eventually, you know, this illness can consume us, you know. And ultimately in a time like now when there's a lot of like fear, you know, going around, it's easy to pick up on these energies and then store it within our bodies, you know, especially if we're used to going to work, you know, even though we might not be like sitting in the greatest postures and all this kind of stuff at work, you know, like we're still like walking to the train station and doing all this kind of stuff. Then we take this moment out and we don't move our bodies, you know, in specific ways, you know, the energies and emotions are going to become stagnant, and it's like important that we we move, you know.
And I feel like a good point to add to that is we've been feeling, you know, sometimes we wake up nowadays and we just feel exhausted. I think it's been a theme of this year, just waking up feeling really tired. And sometimes it can take that extra effort to just get out of bed, put a music on and just dance to your favourite song, do some yoga. It's just, we're trying to say, do that. You know, make that extra commitment, because as soon as you get out of bed and start moving, the whole day changes the landscape. It really does. So it's try your best to move as much as you can.
And even if you don't like yoga or whatever, you know, like there's something that you can do. It'd be a walk in the park, a run, you know, go in the garden, roll around in the mud with your dog or with your child or with your partner or whatever it might be, you know, like there's lots. We actually went to the park yesterday or the day before, me, Bavni and my son Archie, and we said, let's play animals, you know, because I'm trying to get my son into more exercise and stuff. So it was like, you know, we were doing like lizard walks, and we were doing duck walks, and we were doing all this stuff, you know, and we ended up making exercise into just a game, you know. And I took a turn, Bavni took a turn, my son Archie took a turn, and it was great, you know. And it's just like learning how to turn that you know, into something fun, you know.
I agree with that, and it's like Luke said, the fear and anxiety that we're feeling around us is pretty dense. There's one word I can do, it's dense. And it has a cause and effect. It can get into us and react to our own emotions. And loosening up is just the first step of a real beautiful journey to release your emotions.
Yes. Moves us on to our next point, which is breath. Breath work and just breath in general. I mean, it's all breath work ultimately, like, but you know, this can be the most simplified form of breathing, like slowing down and taking a deep breath. You know, like ultimately we breathe quite fast, you know, generally, and like you can end up stuck in that fight or flight mode, and that's where the anxiety lives, and that's where all the weird emotions and stuff live that we don't necessarily want to be feeding. But you know, when you slow down, if you slow down and you do 4 breaths a minute for 10 minutes, like it's impossible to be anxious after that.
And sometimes there can be resistance to that, because every part of you knows that those slow breaths can just change you, really bring peace into your body. And a good one to do is it bringing us basically from this fight and flight mode, this high alert state that we're all in at the moment, you know, it's bringing us into that theta, that more relaxed state, and it's taking a big deep belly breath for 4 seconds, you know, into the belly, your chest will naturally rise. So 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 7, and then you release for 8. So it's called a 4-7-8 breath, and it really just brings, in a simple way, it brings your mind into relaxation from fight and flight mode. And Luke has great suggestions that he always gives us, which is every few hours or so, just put a timer on, and your timer will go off, and it will just say breathe, and you just spend 2 minutes doing deep belly breaths. And also, if you're accustomed to pranayama, we practice pranayama every day. There's so many different breaths you can do to either clear your lungs or to balance your brain hemispheres. And let us know if you want more information on that. We love that kind of stuff.
Ultimately, like we're in surrender mode at the moment. And we want to create some more videos, you know, but we're going to trust the process and see how it unfolds over the next few days. But if you keep tuned, you know, we wanted to create some videos on breath work and yoga and movement and everything. But obviously with the uncertainty of everything, we're going to check into it and
surrender
and surrender to it all, you know. But so the next thing,
number 7, meditate.
Meditation. Because we have yoga, which calms down the body, you know, it calms down, like, as we were saying earlier, you know, like if you have like real tension in a part of your body and then you sit down to meditate, it's a lot harder to meditate, you know. So the body is the first point of call in calming down. So you calm down the body through some kind of movement. Then breath calms down like the nervous system, and the mind, and it allows you to come into a relaxed state, and then it's a lot easier to practice meditation, because meditation is often looked at as very difficult, you know. It's very like hard to silence the mind, and you know, we're not even trying to silence the mind. It's more about observation, you know, and single pointed focus, you know. So like that would what I would say meditation is. It's either focusing on one thing or observing, which again is focusing on one thing, you know. And we don't really have the Western lifestyle is not accustomed to focusing on one thing, you know. So doing the yoga and the breath before gives us that chance to just find that stillness. And there's an app called Insight Timer. You can go on there. It has a timer on there which you can set, you know, like if you're not used to meditating, do 5 minutes, you know. It's like just do 5 minutes of, you know, the breath that Bhavani was talking about, or whatever it might be, you know, just to take a moment and just breathe and just do nothing, you know. And then if you start thinking about the laundry and the pandemic and, you know, this and that and the other thing, that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's just you just observe that, you know. And it, like, even if you do that every day and you're getting the same kind of stuff coming up, it's not it's like our mind purges, you know. And that's what happens in meditation, you know. We often think, oh, like my thoughts are going crazy, and that's because you're giving yourself a moment to allow them thoughts to arise, you know. And when you give yourself a moment for them thoughts to arise, if you keep on practicing and you know, like daily, eventually they start to calm down. You know, they start to, like, it will still pop up, you know, like it's still, there'll be moments where it's, oh my God, you know, I'm sure, you know, I've had something to do today, and like, you know, am I supposed to be calling this person, or, you know, what are we having for breakfast, blah, 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 you know. It starts to chit chat, but it's like, oh, you know, I'm doing that thing I do again. I'm like, you know, overthinking, I'm getting stuck in the future or stuck in the past. That's okay, I'm just going to breathe and allow this to pass, you know. And that's ultimately what meditation is. It just gives us a moment to step into the present moment, into the current reality. And this being a time where people are in isolation, you know, a lot of people are in isolation, is great. You know, there are people that go to the mountains for this kind of stuff, you know. They up and leave and they go to the mountains so they can find that, you know, quiet, still space, you know. And we're getting to do that here, some of us, you know. We're getting some isolation, you know, and it's like we can either fight against it or roll with the flow of how things are.
And I think a good point to bring up is, from after everything you've said, I fully agree with you, is don't give up. You know, keep practicing on it. And the point is, those moments, the moments of stillness you get when you finally bring your thoughts, you realise your mind is wandering, and you say, oh, I completely accept. I accept that my mind has just wandered, and I bring it back. And you get a moment of stillness there, and it's building those up. And, you know, we've both practiced Vipassana, and we've really noticed the difference when you really meditate for a long time, all the time. You really see the difference that makes. It starts from somewhere. Just take 5 minutes a day and do movement, do breath, do a bit of meditation, and it won't take long, even a 15-20 minutes routine. It will really change your day.
And you start to realise, you know, it's like, I was taking life seriously. Like when you meditate for a little while, it's like, oh yeah, I was taking life seriously, wasn't I? Okay, don't need to take life so seriously, do I? Oh, it's all good, you know. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of brings some level of equanimity to things. It's like, you know, there's always stuff to worry about, you know. If you want to, if you choose that reality, there's always stuff to be happy about if you choose that reality, you know. It's like, no matter what's going on, all of the time, that we can live in the worst case scenario, or we can live in the best case scenario, or we can find some middle ground, you know. Because it's like living in the best case scenario all the time, you know, is probably can lead to delusion as well, you know. So it's not like, you know, but it's like if you find like that middle ground between, you know, everything, it's like, I'm just living in the moment, you know. And this thing's come up that's not been of the highest, and I'd rather it not happen, but I'm just going to flow with it, because what other choice do I have, you know. And then it's like, oh great, I won the lottery, oh that's cool, you know, that's great, I can use that money to help people and stuff if I want to, you know. It's just like flowing with whatever comes up, you know. And every situation's cause and effect, you know. And like so just surrendering to the moment. That was a good tangent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Should we go on to the next point?
Yes.
The next point is journal. You know, this is just great. You know, I'm going to let you take this because I've been chit-chatting.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're welcome to talk both of us. So journaling, which is the point Luke and I came up with, this time of going inward, it's really important to consider self-reflecting or self-inquiry. You know, we can sit at home and, you know, watch TV and really just dwell in the fear of this all, or we can take a moment to self-reflect. And this can be just jotting down all of your thoughts, like a big purge in the morning or in the afternoon, just flow and write and, you know, see what comes up when you journal. Or it can be taking some time to really dig down deep with some questions. You know, what are your goals and what's your reality, and what are some options of what you can do next to kind of reach where you want to be in life. But both, you know, do whatever you feels right. Get a pen, get a paper, old school style.
Yeah.
And just write and see what comes up.
Yeah. And there you can write like as Bhavani said, with like intention, or you can just write with no expectation, no intention.
Flow.
And one thing that I would advise is don't get stuck on the first paragraph. You know, sometimes you have to churn out a junk paragraph where you just like, yes, and my name is Luke, and I'm not sure why I'm writing, but I feel like there's something. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, and I want to be a sports person and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, great, like this is great that I've done this, because this is showing me exactly what I want in this time where we're finding, you know, more time for self-inquiry and reflection, you know. And it's like, who's to say that this is not a perfect break for everyone to, you know, really take time out to get to know themselves and return into the new reality, because reality is changing all the time, you know. And it's like, who knows what is on the other side of this situation. There might be a new reality for all of us to step into. So, like, you know, like, let's use this time wisely as a tool for our growth and to stepping into the highest version of ourselves possible.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Use the present time that you have. You know, that many people, I just want to bring a real valid point, if there's many people, they think there's no coronavirus, or there is, or it's a conspiracy, or it's not a conspiracy. The point is, we're here on a kind of neutral basis, just saying these are tips and techniques for everyday life, you know, whether there's an outbreak or not. Right now, we thought, let's do it. It's really helpful. There's a massive thing going on. But be present, you know, take this into your everyday life, because who knows what's going to happen in the future. But take some time, journal, meditate, go inward, because it's super important.
Can I have a kiss? Thank you. I really, really agree with all that you're saying. It's so beautiful, you know, and this can bring us to our next point, which is to go outside. And, you know, I know there's like guidelines and stuff, and it's like, you know, be sensible, you know, like, let's not like spread things around when they don't need to be spread around. You know, I know there can be some cabin fever that's happening where, you know, it's you know, having solitude enforced upon us, but going out, you know, to the park, you know, or your garden, you know, if you have a garden, or whatever, you know, just taking your shoes and socks off and just rolling around in the dirt and rubbing some mud on your face and just like hugging a tree or whatever it might be, you know, just take some time to be with nature, because you know, me and Bhavani have a really really advanced technique of how to find inner peace, and it is it's go to the park until the problem's gone away.
Yes.
You know, like if something's coming up, you know, like if there's an issue that you're facing, and you go and sit in nature and you breathe, you know, and you just like feel into it, like either your attitude towards the problem will change, or you'll find a solution to the problem, or whatever it will be. Like, you'll find some inner peace. Like, worst case scenario, you get some air, you know, like, but ultimately in my personal life, I've found that there's nothing quite as powerful as going and spending a few hours in nature, or even half an hour in nature, when like something's arising that I'm finding it hard to get out of.
Yeah, and I feel like an important aspect of that is connect to nature again. You know, it's very easy for us to go out when we're feeling a bit anxious or something's come up. Oh, let me just go to the park, get some fresh air. Connect again with the natural parks around you, the trees and the wild nature around you. And then who knows, when life gets back to however, who knows what's going to happen in the future, but start reclaiming that connection you have. Go out to the park, hug a tree. There's no shame in it, you know, just get muddy, get dirty. And obviously we're not condoning this whole touchy-feely, I know there's lots about social distancing and all that, but we're not saying any of that stuff, bringing that into this conversation. We're just saying nature is healing, it is medicine. That's just a fact. Yeah, so take that as you will, and obviously do what you feel is right for you. Yeah.
Which brings us to the next point
express gratitude.
Express yourself. Do. Express yourself.
Express yourself.
But yeah, express gratitude, which firstly, I just want to, like, obviously, like, I'm a big advocate of gratitude. I feel like it's a great practice, to get into. But, like, firstly, I want to, like, talk about, like, this situation specifically and some of the things, like, like, it can seem doom and gloom, right? But, like, let's look at some of the positives that have happened as a result of this. So in China, I read an article earlier on Science Daily. So it was a proper article. It wasn't one of those, like, pretend articles that's not really verified by any science. It was, I think it was Science Daily or one of them scientific magazines, online magazines. And it was about the air pollution in China and how the cutting down, because all the factories are shutting down and everything, is actually going to save more lives than the coronavirus has cost. And obviously this is an estimate. It's not like they were like predicting that it will, given the time frame and all this kind of stuff, So, it seemed like something negative is happening, but ultimately in one region it's creating more life, And another example of this positive news is in Venice. They're saying now that they can see the canal. Like usually it's the water's so polluted, but now the river is clear. And
it's a famous thing, for years you can't see through the canal sides there, and I've been there, and it is amazing to see that the pollution itself, Mother Earth is cleansing and purging. And they say even in Wuhan, where this apparently originated, and in China, the sky is blue again. People can actually see, and there's no fumes, and it's absolutely amazing that we're basically trying to bring a positive spin and urge you to understand that Mother Earth is doing something beyond maybe that something we can't comprehend.
And it's like there's a lot of stuff about the environment now. Like a lot of stuff is coming out. Like, when I was a child, I didn't know any like carrier bags, like plastic bags were bad for the environment. But recently things are coming out. And now it's like this forced break is giving people data to look at. It's like, oh, hang about, like when everyone calms down and shuts down and isolates for this amount of time, this is what happens to the environment. So it's like we're actually getting to observe something, that possibly had to be forced upon us, which could have the potential to, save the planet. Who
knows? And we don't even hear planes anymore flying across. It's absolutely incredible. I've just noticed that we don't hear them, and it's I think it's just taking our minds away from what our perceived reality and future is, and the unknowns and the fears, and accepting what's going on. There is a real grander picture at hand, and it's just accepting that we can't really do much about it. We've just got to be present, be ourselves, and be in our environments, and make the best of it.
One other positive news story as well was in Italy. Everyone's out on their balcony singing, playing musical instruments, and it's like, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know what it's like in like the cities in Italy, but I know in London it can be, quite lonely, even though there's lots and lots of people, like either on the tubes, on the trains, people don't really speak to each other, and it's like you can have like this real overpopulated but lonely vibe. It's like there's so many people and so much like loneliness, yet everyone's in their own space, and
I think that brings us nicely onto our 11th point, which is compassion. So it's like this bonus point we want to give you, which underlines all of these 10 things in life itself, which is compassion and community. And it's these people on their balconies in Italy playing music to each other out their windows, letting people know. And Italy has a high population of the elder generation. It's letting them know that you're not alone. This compassion and community is a big part of it.
That's what it is, community. Like people are inherently good. Like they are. Like, I mean, it's easy to I only have my personal experience to go by, so I can't say what other people's realities are. But my experience with human beings, when I speak to someone, they are nice. Like generally when things like a interaction unfolds, it's pleasant. And I know there are moments where people clash and stuff, but I feel like it's human nature to care, to love, to show compassion. And if there's one thing, I know there's some chaos and everyone's going mental about toilet rolls, and a lot of people are kind of panic buying and all this kind of stuff, but this aside, like people do care, you know,
They do.
people, and there is a common ground that a lot of people are going through, and all across the world this is happening, you know, and it's like if we work together as a nation, a human nation, you know, like not just on this specific issues, but you know, like the issues with the environment and all this kind of stuff together, like we can actually create a better future for our children, children's children, for ourselves, and not to project too much into the future, but you know, just like we got
Stay
this.
present, Luke.
Stay present. Yes, we just said that in point.
Sorry, 2.
Yeah.
I think that is a big part of it. It's make the time to check in with yourself, you know, and then see what is it that I want to do. Do I want to call my mom? Do I want to call my dad? Do I want to go and help the community, provide food, do this, do that? Don't be hard on yourself, of course, but check into how you want to serve yourself and others, because community is how we get through this. Stronger together is a phrase I absolutely love. And have compassion. Everyone's in their own process at the moment. It's a big whirlwind of magic. Let's just say it's a whirlwind of magic. And what we can do is give compassion.
Compassion to yourself firstly, you know, like because obviously with this situation everyone's reacting different. Some people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. Some people are like, oh my god, it's like, you know, the end of days, you know, and it's like everyone has their process with this, you know. So it's like if you have a process that you're not comfortable with in yourself, then show yourself compassion. If someone else has a process that's making you feel uncomfortable, then show them compassion. Again, with boundaries, like we said earlier, you know, you don't have to take on anyone else's stuff,
or rescue
but still,
someone even.
just showing compassion, love, kindness, you know, this is always a great thing.
They're great things, and they lead to such liberation. You know, that concept of infinite love and infinite compassion for everyone, for the world and yourself. It's beautiful.
I feel like point 11 went on a tangent, but it's great.
Well, you know how we should end it with a beautiful mantra, a prayer, which has a very long meaning, but in short, it's may all the world be peaceful and happy and blessed. May all beings be happy. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. All the beings in the world be happy and blessed and healthy. Yes.
Sending you very much love. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and we will speak to you very, very soon, beautiful beings. Much love. Bye.